Welcome, everyone. We are delighted to have Miranda de Pensier, producer and director of The Grizzlies, with us today. Miranda has many other credits, too long to list here, but some of them include being the executive producer of one of my favorite series, Anne with an E, also the executive producer of North of North, which is hugely popular, and of the documentary True North. Prior to producing, Miranda was the director of development for Robert Redford's Wildwood Enterprises. And The Grizzly was her directorial debut, and the film premiered at TIFF 2018. She was presented with the Directors Guild of Canada Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in a Feature Film, which is a pretty auspicious launch of a directing career. Please welcome Miranda de Pensier to another Stratford Film Festival Conversation with. Welcome, Miranda. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Happy to be here.
I know you're busy doing other projects, which we'll get to later, but I wanted to talk to you. I read a quote that you said, I've never worked harder on anything or cried more or laughed more in my life. It was about honoring the resilience and joy of these kids. So that really spoke to me. And your film has so much heart, and it was not what I was expecting at all. And it resonates on so many levels. Um, just so many human levels, the kids, the healing of a community, on and on and on and on. Tell me what drew you to this story, because it's an unusual choice for a directorial debut, and especially from a woman director. I mean, it's not, wouldn't have been my first choice, but boy, did you make the right one.
Well, it's a bit of a story, and it was a bit of a journey because I was living in Los Angeles when I was first sent an ESPN news piece about the Grizzlies, and it was just a 7 minute uh, little news story that had been shot up in Kugluktuk, Nunavut, about how these kids had transformed their town through playing a sport.
Mhm.
And I watched this little clip and I was crying at the end of it. I love stories about underdogs and
Mhm.
stories of human resilience of us overcoming
Right.
pain and difficulty in life and especially through sport. I grew up playing sports and being part of teams, and that was really transformative for me in high school. So I just connected to it on a visceral gut level. I also had no experience with the Arctic. I knew nothing about the North. I was born and raised in Toronto, and so um, that was also just completely foreign for me. So it was really just the human story of these kids that first touched me. And and then as far as directing it, I was not for a long time I was not directing. I once I was sent the ESPN news piece, and it was an interesting story. A guy named Jake Steinfeld, who started Major League Lacrosse, gave the ESPN news piece to his buddy Steven Spielberg, who gave it to his producing partner Frank Marshall,
Oh,
who gave it to a producer who gave it to me. So that's how Frank and a number of sort of Hollywood people were attached to this project from the beginning. They needed someone to go and actually make the film. And when I went to put it together, um, uh, I hired the first writer I hired was Graham Yost, the amazing Canadian Graham
he's
Yost.
extraordinary. Yeah.
He's an incredible writer and has a huge, brilliant career and had done a lot of incredible work. And
And just
so
for our audience, they should know Graham Yost's first film, I believe, was Speed. He also worked on Mission to Mars, Broken Arrow, and he wrote for Band of Brothers and From the Earth to the Moon. He has an IMDb
yeah, and
list
recently,
goes on and on.
he's made The Americans, Justified,
I know.
Silent on Apple. He's prolific. I went to him and sent him the news piece. He bawled his eyes out. He was like, I want to tell this story as well. So we sort of started the journey together. and then a number of years later, after developing it, he was supposed to direct as well. He was very busy on
Oh,
a show called Justified, and he had to drop out directing, but he turned to me and he said, "Okay, Depensier, you should direct it." So
wow.
that's how that happened. But I was not supposed to direct. And then when
So
I said, "You're crazy," I was like, "I've never directed. I'm a producer." And so I thought I'd go make a short. And he said, "You know what? You were an actor. You know how to work with these young kids. You know what it's like to be a young actor, finding yourself." And he's like, "I just really think you should step in." So
talk to us a little bit about the challenges, which probably ended up being benefits to working in the North and how you cast the film.
well, it was a massive journey. As I said, I'd never been there. So Graham and I first went up together when he was starting to write the script and we were developing it together.
Mhm.
And we thought, let's go and audition a bunch of kids. So we did these open casting calls. We brought a casting director up from Edmonton and we just started to put kids on tape. And it was sort of amazing because there hadn't really been a big film history in a number of these towns that we were going into were very small communities. They were fly-in communities. It was enough to sort of we had to get on the CB radio to get kids to even come out. I'd be walking around the town going, "Hey, you want to audition? Like come on down to the, to the hotel." And
And how many people did you audition for
I mean, overall, we auditioned about 600 kids all over the Arctic Circle. And then what we did was we really needed to train them because you'd see raw talent, but we really needed to know who could handle the subject matter and
Mm,
who and the discipline and who actually really responded to it. Because when you're dealing with obviously sensitive issues, you need to make sure that the kids that are doing it are
right.
inspired by it and
Hmm.
not re-traumatized.
Exactly.
So we brought we did two big workshops. We flew the kids from all over the Arctic to Iqaluit, which is the largest town in the Arctic, and we put together a workshop that included drum dancers and throat singing teachers, and so that the kids, even if they didn't get in the film, would get a wide range of knowledge to take
That's
back to their family.
amazing.
Then we did foundation acting classes, and by the end of that week, you could really see who were the kids that loved it and connected to it. And that's how we found, for instance, Anna Lamb, who has now gone on to be the star in my producers in the Grizzlies. We make North of North now
Right.
on Netflix and CBC and APTN, and that show starring Anna Lamb. She's now, doing True Detective for HBO, and she's
Amazing.
just finished a Brad Pitt
You
movie.
transformed her life, really.
Superstar. I mean, she transformed her life. That woman
Yes.
is so brilliant. She's got such natural talent, and she's such an unbelievably stellar human. So it's a pleasure to work with her every day.
Were there a lot of other challenges in terms of weather? It's kind of a not hospitable environment all the time. Did it get so? What time of year did you shoot? Was it too cold for the cameras at any times? What are some of
All
the
of the above.
technical challenges?
We
Yeah, when I
shot we
saw it,
shot
because I am a
March.
filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker myself, and I'm like, oh my God, what about this? What about this?
Yes, we shot March, April, May. And it was really hard. We had everything. We had weather issues. We'd have continuity issues because of that. Definitely at times we had to sort of warm up the camera. Although the cameras have been, gotten better since, so it's a little bit easier for us now on North of North. But there's definitely all those challenges, and there's also just the fact that you're dealing with very sensitive issues and not all professional actors. And so I think the big challenge it was building time and taking the time to make sure that we had professional help nearby for the days that kids might get triggered, that we were
Did you
supportive.
have
We allowed
psychologists or
we
sociologists or
did. We
yeah,
did. We
that's
brought in, it was
amazing.
after the workshops. I was very ignorant. Didn't realize really in understanding all of the kind of history of colonialism and the
Right.
damage that the Canadian government did and how that still um, penetrates life in the North today. And so once I had that knowledge, then I worked with my Inuit partners, Stacy and Alethea, and we brought in psychologists and we had people on standby for any kids that needed that support. And then also just during the shooting of it, with the young actors, we would really be guided by them. So if they were needing time, normally on a film set, you push everyone along and you go, nope,
Exactly.
sorry, you need another take. Nope, you're tired. I don't care. Keep going. This is the deal. You're usually, but on this, because of the sensitive nature, and we had so many young first time actors, it was really important to just respect where they were at. And so I just turned to the crew and I'm like, you know what? We're gonna do a smoke break for one of these kids right now. So everyone, we're gonna chill and let's just like, and everyone's like, what? And then you'd sort of just everyone's chill for 10 minutes, take a little break, and then we're like, okay, we're ready. They're ready again. We're ready again. So we really got guided by what those kids needed.
Now, your cast was 91% Indigenous, and you also had a crew that was 33% Indigenous. And I believe you mentioned your producing partners. How did you meet your producing partners and connect with them?
It was sort of I knew from the very beginning that first trip that Graham Yost and I took up to the Arctic that I knew absolutely nothing. Like I realized I was going to be telling a story from a place. I was like, oh, it's just
Nice
Canada.
blonde white
That
lady
story.
from Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, I got it. I was like, I don't know how to actually, I don't know anything about this culture, and this is Canada. What? And so right away, I knew we needed partners. And so the first person I met, I reached out to the Nunavut Film Development Corporation, and the head at the time lived in Rankin Inlet. So I flew to Rankin Inlet, and I met a young woman named Stacey Aglick McDonald, who now is my partner on North of North.
Mhm.
But this was 15 years ago or something. We met for the first time, and um, she was there. She had just made a documentary film, and I said, "Hey, do you want to come and do this?" And I had to keep pestering her because she was ignoring me for several months, and I was like a dog with a bone. I kept saying, "Come on, blah, blah, blah."
Do you
And
know
then
why
finally
she
I
was
talked to
ignoring you?
somebody.
Did you ever find out?
Well, I did. Now that I know her too, she would laugh at this, but she's not always good at answering her emails on time. But more so, I think she was skeptical, and rightly so.
Right.
Who is this white lady from Toronto that's calling me,
Mm.
and why? And so several months down the road, after I talked to someone else who knew her. I found someone who knew her, and they said, yeah, she doesn't necessarily want white people from the South telling stories of the North. And I was like,
Mm.
okay, then that's exactly who I need, because I was like, if I can convince her to come on board, I want her to criticize. I want her to be judgmental of what we're doing and make sure we're doing it right. And
Well,
so
it's so interesting you mentioned that, Miranda, because when I started watching it, I was like really nervous because I thought, oh, it's going to be the white savior thing. And you very deftly managed to address those concerns. I mean, it was based on a true story, so you want to be truthful about what happened and the impact it had. But at the same time, it was a very strong representation uh, of the people up there and what they want, what they don't want, and how dare you and don't presume, and a lot of that. And I learned something from watching it. So you did so much right, by doing the workshops, by engaging with these other local people, and being humble about I don't know and I need to know. Where I heard that you showed a first cut to the local community. Um, were you excited? Were you a nervous wreck? Were you both? How did that go?
I was a nervous wreck. The real nervous wreck, though, was Stacy, my producing partner, because it's her hometown,
Right.
and so I think she felt this real responsibility. I felt a responsibility to the kids whose story we were telling because I'd
Hmm.
gotten to know them, the real Kyle, the real Miranda, the real
Hmm.
Adam Kickback, and I thought if we if they aren't happy, I was scared. But we screened for them first privately, and then we screened for the bigger community of Kugluktuk afterwards. And both those screenings were amazing. And they were so proud and moved and felt like it, obviously it wasn't exactly how it happened, but
Right.
they felt that it was very much the spirit
Right.
of how it happened. And
I just want to thank you so much for making the time, especially knowing what your schedule is now. I thought you were hanging in LA. Um, we're so glad you were able to come and talk with us today. We look forward to seeing any future projects and hopefully showcasing them at the Stratford Film Festival. And maybe we'll lure you in by person one of these days.
thanks, Megan, and thank you. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here today. So.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.